Okay guys, I am here with you in the F-15EX. This is a tutorial for my guys in the 122nd Fighter Squadron. We're going to be going over prioritizing targets and selecting weapons to destroy those targets. With that said, I'm flying in a mission that I've created. I've got a C-130 off of our nose. Let's take the aircraft BBR mode, TWS. Let's lock up to C-130. And I've got 4 AIM 260s and a ton of, I think 16 maybe AIM 120 deltas. So with that said, some of the variables we're going to look at when it comes to prioritizing targets are going to be the target's altitude, airspeed, range. And then something I also look at is going to be the type target that we are facing, as well as its weapons and weapons capabilities, but we're not going to talk about the type aircraft and its weapons capabilities for this video. We're just going to be focusing on altitude, airspeed, and range. So with that said, I know I've got a C-130 off our nose. There should be 2 J-11s, approximately 20 miles in trail. I should be getting an RWR spike from them pretty soon. But anyways, the C-130 is doing a ground speed of 309 knots. It's hot towards me on a heading of 129. Now compare its ground speed to my ground speed, which is going to be 661 knots. So automatically, I know I've got an altitude advantage over it. It's at 25,000 feet. I'm at 35,000 feet. So I've got both an altitude and airspeed advantage over it. Okay, there's my RWR spike from my J-11s, which have a MiG-29 radar signature. We'll worry about them in a little bit. So with that, I've got an altitude and airspeed advantage over the Bandit that I have off of my nose. I know that I have a limited amount of AIM 260s, which is a higher quality missile than the AIM 120Ds. So I'm going to select the AIM 260 to be my first missile to fire on this C-130. I'll fire, the C-130 is coming up on 84 miles. I'll fire at about 80 miles. Now, I'm selecting the AIM 260 as opposed to the, well, I'm going to select the 260 for the C-130, and then I'm going to select the AIM 120s for the fighters. Okay, here we are, 80 miles, Fox 3. And the reason I'm going to do this is because of the fact that fighters are used to dodging missiles, and the fighters should be significantly faster and my missiles should have a lower probability of kill to hitting a fighter than they would a C-130. Obviously, as fighter pilots, we practice dodging missiles. Cargo pilots, C-130s, KC-135s, not so much so, or nowhere near the amount of practice that we do, at least. I mean, they have countermeasures, they have ACE, aircrew survivability equipment like we do, but they're not practicing it anywhere near the level that we're practicing it as fighter pilots. So the third consideration that we also need to look at is range. The closer a target is to us, or a threat is to us, regardless if the threat has high airspeed or high altitude, the closer it is, typically it's a more lethal threat to us. The reason that the airspeed and altitude are so important for fighters is because the missile is going to use the energy from the airspeed that our plane has, and depending on its altitude, it's going to extend the range of said missile, and with both more energy and more range, the missile is more lethal to us. We should better pick up the J-11s. I think at about, so if you notice, the MiG-29 signatures were on the outer ring, and now it's on the inner, not the inner, the middle ring of my RWR. We just got the first radar contact for the so now we've got radar contact on both J-11s. Our C-130 is maneuvering and descending, so I'm going to unlock the C-130. That AIM 260 should be on him pretty good. All right, I'm going to go from the AIM 260 to our AIM 120s. And why are we going to the AIM? Let's push our elevation down as well. Sorry about that. Why are we going to the AIM 120 with it being a lower quality missile than the AIM 260? Well, it's because although it's a lower quality missile, I'm preparing to receive missiles from the J-11s, and I'm also going to be firing on the J-11s. The fact that I have more AIM-120Ds is a very important variable for me. One of the worst things that can happen, just like in a real fight, is you start pulling the trigger to fire the missiles and you run out of the primary weapon that you have selected. So now you're pulling the trigger and it's not firing. Okay, 40 miles for the first J-11, Fox 3. We'll fire on the second one here in a second. Okay, the C-130 went down. Fox 3 again. Now, if you notice, I've got two different ranges on the HUD. I've got the 35, that's 35 miles for the first one. Never mind. But anyways, so if I got a missile coming at me right now and I need to go cold, or I'm cranking, and just to be clear, the J-11s for this particular mission, let me come out of burner. The J-11s for this particular mission aren't loaded up with any air-to-air missiles, so they're both going to be very vulnerable to these AIM-120Ds. But anyways, I want to be able to continue to pull the trigger, splash one, and have missiles come off the rail, as opposed to if they dodge the first 3 missiles of the AIM-260s, I'd pull the trigger again, and the weapons system would reset, and the missile would not come off the rail, which now I have to take another extra second to reselect the weapon, which could be the difference between me getting hit and them getting hit. So the name of the game is just maximizing the tools that we have. It's very important to know what's the greatest threat to our aircraft as well as to our flight, and how to best prosecute those targets or execute those targets. Quantity is important. We typically want quality over quantity, but not when it comes to a gunfight all the time. There are a lot of variables to consider. So just keep that in mind. Keep in mind when you've run out of your AIM-260s and you pull the trigger again, it's not going to automatically cycle from the 260 to the 120. You have to manually select the 120 again with your weapon select button that you have bound to your HOTAS. So that's a lot to think about. With that said, I hope that this video helps, and I appreciate you guys taking a look at it. Stick around for the next one, and I'll see you guys later.